Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Salamander for the PC Engine, and I'm playing this game on a Core Grafx Mini. It was one of the games from this release that was from Japan, and luckily it wasn't completely in Japanese, so I could actually play it. I know there are a variety of games on this console that have not been translated at all, so for me they end up being kind of a waste, but I'm happy to know that this is a fully playable game with no need for a translation. Salamander is the foreign version of one of my favorite NES games, Life Force. I reviewed that game in another video, and I'm a huge fan of Life Force. So to get to play an enhanced version of that, or something that's more close to what the original was, that's awesome. This is an outer space side-scrolling shooter, with ship upgrades you pick up along the way. There are a few basic differences between Life Force and Salamander. Life Force on the NES, you have two buttons on the controller, one fires, and one will select and purchase upgrades when you have the right amount of tokens available. With Salamander, you don't store and purchase upgrades with tokens. You just pick up the upgrades along the way, and they trigger to your ship immediately. The controller for the TurboGrafx 16 is basically the same as an NES controller with only two buttons, but here you use both buttons to fire. The two-button fires your standard laser, and the one-button fires missiles if you have them equipped. The size of the playing field is usually a little larger than what you can see on screen. Like the game Blazing Lasers, if you drift to the outskirts of the screen might move a little bit in both directions. It's great to have a little extra space, it really helps the game along. Now, I have to compare this to the NES Life Force version, of course. The graphics here are certainly better. It is the next generation of machines, so there's certainly been a graphic improvement. I wouldn't say it's a huge leap, though. It's a decent leap, but the NES version was already a really polished game, I think, and this just isn't groundbreaking to me, it's just a solid upgrade. It also feels like the gameplay is a tiny bit faster here, and there's only a little graphical flicker from time to time, and it's only in parts of the screen that never seem to matter to me or affect gameplay. Overall, I'd have to say it feels harder here. I certainly get killed a lot easier in this version. When I play Life Force, I normally plow all the way through the first level and I get to the end boss no problem. I just can't do that here. I do recognize the layout of the level, I recognize the enemies and all the obstacles. Everything seems to be in the same place, it just feels more treacherous. In the middle of the first level, there are these large, teeth-looking obstructions, or maybe they're tusks. They stick out of the top and bottom of the path and they move up and down, and you need to dodge in between them. It's just easier in the NES version. They're almost not even an obstacle in that version, and that probably would have been good criticism on that game. They just seem like they're kind of almost wasted in the NES version. I never got killed there for sure, but here, they are certainly a problem, and I get killed in these things a lot. For a while I was having trouble getting to the end of the first level, so after a while I actually switched the difficulty to hard mode, and somehow I suddenly managed to get to the end of the stage on hard. I'm not sure how, maybe I was just getting more comfortable, because it's certainly harder on the difficult setting. I just managed to get further. Harder difficulty has more enemy offensive fire, and certain items on the screen will behave differently. One part of the first stage is filled with these little brain creatures that you sort of shoot. Now, when you get to that screen, they start to move towards you as you approach. I wasn't prepared for that. There's just a lot more to dodge, I think, when you have that setting enabled. When you die in Salamander, your ship does not simply pop back up on the screen where you were. It sends you back to an earlier place in the stage, and now you have no upgrades. So getting to the end of the level with no upgrades from that regen point is pretty hard, because there are very few upgrades available from that reset point to the end of the level. It is definitely a hassle to overcome. I guess it does force you to be a better player. It's possible, it's just more difficult. Now, I have to say that I did check the Konami code for this game. As of making this video, I haven't been able to figure out how to get this one to work. I don't think it was enabled for Salamander. I really wish it was. It would definitely make things easier here. I went online to look. I've seen some codes for some other versions, just not for the PC Engine version. So far, out of luck. Also, I am playing one player. I'm willing to admit that the two-player game is totally different. It wouldn't matter so much if one of you dies. It certainly wouldn't spawn you back, both of you, earlier in the level. Plus, the level of firepower would be greatly increased, so that's going to help with the entire stage and the boss battle. It's important to talk about the firepower just a little bit here. You pick up upgrades along the way, you don't purchase them, they just trigger. But you also seem to have more of an opportunity to pick up upgrades here. I don't think the volume is different, it's just that in Life Force, you can get 3 options. Options are those little extra glowing pods. They attach to your ship, and they fly around following you, and basically when you fire, they fire as well, so it multiplies your fire. In this version of Salamander, you can get more than 3. I seem to be able to get at least 4 consistently, maybe even 5. It's pretty great to have that much offensive capabilities. The music is also excellent. This is not one you would turn down while you're playing because the music totally works here. I think it's the same as what's on the NES for the most part. It's great. Well, that's all I have for Salamander for the PC Engine. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on another video.